Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. This is your host, the Barkeep, and I keep wanting to say once again, but it's almost become like a regular thing that you're here, is Shadow Raptor.
Yes, and just a minor note, just be calling me Raptor from now on because I got my own YouTube channel going now, and it's not under the title of Shadow Raptor. It's actually Lord Raptor Demort. I run Pokemon videos there. So, we'll have a link to that. But
yeah, I'll put a link in there, and thank you for that lovely plug. Make sure when I come on your show, I'll make sure to plug mine on there.
Oh, certainly.
So what we're going to go ahead and do today is we have the opportunity to get together, and we're going to do another one of our top lists. I guess this is top 6 by the way we're doing it. And what I mean is we're going to do it like we did the best and worst Megazords. We picked the top 3 of our favorites, the bottom 3, and then we just go ahead and discuss them. So we're going to go ahead and start here with, I should better say what our topic is. We're going to do our best and worst 6th Rangers. Now, a couple of rules on this to start out with. First of all, we have both elected not to select Tommy Oliver, because it's just too easy, right?
Yeah, I mean, he'd probably be on both of our top lists, and I've never ever met a single fan that dislikes him. Maybe we got some hipster that dislikes him just because everyone else likes him, but anyways.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend 30 minutes talking about Tommy since, on my best friend Rangers, he's up on there, and I'm talking about him and Jason so much and all that, so. But in any case, Tommy is out of the running. We've also decided we're not going to be doing Super Megaforce and Megaforce, so no Robo Knight, although his status as a 6th Ranger is debatable.
It's official.
It's official?
Yes.
Okay.
Because, look at Gokai Silver. He's right there, even though I greatly dislike Robo Knight, that's a topic for another day.
Absolutely. But this is really just going to be your standard 6th Rangers. If we don't consider somebody a 6th Ranger, it's not necessarily that we don't believe he's a 6th Ranger, it's just that either A, he has debatable status, or she has debatable status.
Magna Defender, for example.
Exactly. Now that we've decided not to do Magna Defender, just because there's a number of reasons and all that, but he's not really a Ranger per se. And I guess the criteria is you have to have Ranger in the title and be the official 6th Ranger in a way.
Yes.
But I think our list may vary on that. But hey, this is all fun, so we're just going to say who we like and go from there. Raptor, how about you go ahead and start? We're going to start with our best. And this is no particular order, so you don't have to give me the top one on your list, but just give me one of your 3 best 6th Rangers.
All right, well, I started my list off with Ryan from Lightspeed Rescue.
The Titanium Ranger, the first American Power Ranger.
Who apparently will show up in Super Megaforce even if his actor will not.
Yes, it seems that way. So why Ryan? Tell me what you like about him.
Okay, so a common trope with 6th Rangers is that they work for the bad guy when they come in.
Yeah, okay.
Whether it be by mind control, being outright evil, whatever.
Or manipulation. Which is not mind control, just manipulation.
Yes, and manipulation is one of the reasons, is the reason that I like Ryan over, say Tommy when he first showed up.
Because of how he fights the Ranger, how he essentially goes onto the side of evil.
Yes, and why he's on the side of evil, I like a lot more than he's evil brainwash.
Yeah, because this wasn't something where, Diabolical kidnapped him and just, force-fed him. Well, it's kind of brainwashing and manipulation kind of the same way, but there was no magic spell that he used.
Yes.
Ryan simply lived with the demons for, 20 years, I think, and then, he just resented his father.
Because he was led to believe that his father left him to the demons.
And that's one of the most interesting backstories is... the whole accident thing, and there's debate about what's going on with Diabolico and his spirit projection, or what's it called? Spirit projection, is that what it is?
I think so, yeah.
I think it's the term. But there's a lot of debate about that, but it's the whole idea that this kid was raised from the age of, I think 6?
Something like that.
Because it's his 20th birthday, I think, in the episode, when he's first introduced. and again, he's grown for the entire time to resent his father and what he stands for, and he's not really against the Rangers. I think he's just doing what Diabolical says, because Diabolical is his father figure. And again, he just resents his biological father for essentially letting him die. Because when you think about Meth, for instance, that's what he did. He died, he's in hell, if you want to put it that way, and he's being resurrected. So, it's real interesting backstory there. I would definitely agree with that. And he's got a lot of other cool things, like the Max Solar Zord rocks.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's a green Zord, right?
Yeah, and I just...
Oh,
my mic, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like that he's evil on his own free will. Yes, his opinions were influenced by evil characters, but it's not like Ryan was just walking along and then, he got hit by an evil spell.
Yeah, he's not upright evil. He's just misled, which I think they always say the best villains are the ones who don't look at themselves as villains. And I'd say Ryan was never like that.
Yeah, and plus, you've got the scorpion tattoo thing coming in, and that was really cool.
Which, and again, that works in with the problem with Lightspeed Rescue is they invented Stranger. For whatever reason, they decided not to use the Demon Hunter. You know the Demon Hunter, right?
Yes.
They did not decide to use Demon Hunter. They came up with a great alternative, I think.
Yeah.
But they had to get him out, much like what they did to Tommy and the Green Candle. Candle to stop a guy, tattoo to stop a guy. It's like really Dungeons and Dragons.
Hey, I'm an ink nut, so I prefer the tattoo.
And kind of the way they got him out and the way they brought him in every so often was kind of interesting. But again,
limited by the budget, but still, story-wise, it was cool.
I will say for the record that I love Lightspeed Rescue. I know a lot of people have problems with it. Ryan leaving is one of them, but it wasn't like he was gone forever kind of thing, and it was good.
And then he randomly shows up with Eric and the Time Force team up, which I thought was so random.
Yeah,
but it's cool.
Yeah, we have no idea what he's been up to, and it's like.
Also, one more thing that I'd like to add: he is one of my favorite designs for a Ranger suit.
Even though he's based off Turbo Ranger from Japan, as opposed to Go-Go or God is it Go-Go? Yeah, Go-Go 5.
Yeah, and I think it works. It works, and it's similar to the Lightspeed Rangers, but different enough so that yes, he stands out as the 6th Ranger.
And it is nice. It does incorporate the Max Solar Zord logo because in Go-Go 5, the Max Solar Zord, or I think it's Liner Boy, did not have a pilot as remote control, so they visually tied in the two, and I thought that was it was very good.
Had to make it work like that.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. We'll move on to the next one, and I'm going to make a very obvious choice right here. I'm going to say Eric Myers, the Quantum Ranger.
Well, you just knocked one off my list. So.
That's what helps make these videos go quicker.
Yeah.
Now, I've said an awful lot about him in my top Red Rangers and all that. And again, I was kind of cheating with that and stuff, but I just want to make several points about him. What do you have to go ahead and say? If you want to rebut anything I did say in that video, feel free to.
Well, what I like about him is that he is an antagonistic force to the Rangers, but he's not evil.
Yes.
He opposes the Time Force Rangers, but he's not brainwashed to be evil. He's not working for a villain. He's simply antagonistic because they're working towards the same goal, but he does not want to work with them.
Because of his pride.
Yes. And I think that's just great basis for an antagonistic relationship because it's a lot more complex than a Ranger shows up and opposes the Rangers because he's evil.
Now, 10 plus years looking at it, I love the concept. But I will admit that when the show did come out, I didn't like the fact that, again, up to that point, the 6 Rangers are always like, yeah, we're the 6th Ranger, but we're not going to join you. We'll do that later. Which is still something that kind of goes on today in both the Sentai Empire Rangers. And I didn't like that about him, but what time has taught me and what I've learned since then is that it was really good that, again, working for the same goal, but his pride does not allow him to join the team what he feels as the differences in class status, which I think if you run Time Force today, it's still relevant in that regard. Simply because, again, Wes is that rich kid, Eric is the poor kid. Now, how he got into that school, I'm not quite sure because it's like a preparatory school. You have to pay to get into it or something.
Scholarships, I don't know.
Yeah, but what's really remarkable about Eric's intelligence? Because it took him a while to figure out they were from the future, if the clock thing in the Zords coming from a time portal didn't give it that away. But, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I just put Eric up there because he is different than what we've seen. He's still a fan favorite, and what I did like in Reinforcements for the Future is, again, they progressed his character.
Yes, and I think that's a great example of his character development. Being a loner because of his pride, not wanting to work with the Rangers, but then, by the end of Time Force and by Reinforcements for the Future, he and Wes are clearly best friends.
Yes.
And that is...
Best friends and partners, because they work together now.
And I think the best way to tell if a character has good, sufficient character development is to look at their first appearance and look at their final appearance.
Exactly. Which, if you look at a lot of characters, let's say Trini, for example, that doesn't happen.
She is the same in The Day at the Dumpster as she is when she takes off to the peace conference.
Yeah, which really she took off before that. That's a
but
different
if we
thing.
want to go by that same idea,
exactly.
Look at Tommy. Tommy when he comes in, Tommy when he leaves.
And Tommy's like the quintessential... he's the standard when you go ahead and think about it.
But anyways, back to Eric. Yes, he is a different character.
Do you find it odd that it's a woman that got him out of it? Because, well, I mean, okay, not in Time Force, but in Reinforcements from the Future. Because even from the beginning of that episode, he said he's still Eric, but by the end, he's playful Eric. You know? So do you find odd there was a girl that brought him out of that, and Taylor, of all people?
I don't know. I'm kind of a sucker for the idea of a story of a romance bringing someone out of their shell. I don't mind it. I like it a lot better than, say, Madison convincing Nick to stay in, or at least come back to...
True. Now, one last point I want to go ahead and ask about Eric, and it's something I did not discuss, but it's kind of one of those behind-the-scenes things, and I just want to kind of get your opinion on what you thought of it.
Okay.
Now, the original ending to The End of Time was that Eric was going to die.
Just like Time Fire.
Exactly. Now, how do you feel about the ending as it was with his character, or do you think he should have, perished, or what do you think? What do you think?
Usually I oppose when Power Rangers brings back a character that died and stayed dead in Sentai.
Mm-hmm.
But I am okay with Eric staying alive, which goes back to me liking how he became friendly and made friends.
Yes.
Because sometimes death in a story means a character finding redemption.
Yes.
Eric was not on a search for redemption.
Okay.
Eric was, his quest, like his personal arc was making friends, opening up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that he has done anything he needs to redeem himself for. And so, and I don't know the exact specifics of Time Fire and Time Ranger.
Yeah, neither do I. I think it was something similar.
I'm just because I like he and Wes's friendship afterwards. I like that relationship.
I guess the only thing that I look at as is like, again, I'm glad they kept them alive because we get that development in Reinforcements from the Future. Now, let's say we didn't have Reinforcements from the Future, or he never had that development.
Okay.
Then I think him dying would have been, I guess, logical. Would have made sense and had dramatic impact to it.
Yeah.
I think the only two reasons I could think that you would keep him alive at the end is one, it's a kid's show. Not that I believe in that, but that's probably what the producer says. Like, you can't have him die.
Yeah.
And the second is that you want to do something with him later, which was. Yeah, but this was not the case probably when they wrote the episode. But because I don't know if they knew they were going to do a crossover and what that crossover would be at the time. Because it began two different writing staffs at that point. But, yeah, even though none of those factors were in place at the time, keeping him alive is good. I just think it would have been more emotional impact if he had died, because that would have raised the stakes. Because remember, the only stakes...
that's true.
Yeah, the only stakes were the future was changing and Wes was going to die. Okay, we already established in the series that the future can be changed. That's been established a number of times. So it's kind of an empty thing there. It's like, the other Rangers are going to go back. But if we see that Eric dies and they did not get back in, quote, time to save him, it would have been, and it may be...
It would have made the end of time more suspenseful. Maybe this is just my personal bias because I like Eric so much.
Yeah. And nothing wrong with that, but I think we both agree he's awesome.
Yeah, also adore his sword.
Yes, which you have already...
Yes, I've already established that.
Anything dinosaur related you like. Alright, who's your next best Sixth Ranger?
Well, my next one I put down was Cam.
Okay, the Green Samurai Ranger.
Green Samurai
Not from Power Ranger Samurai, but from Ninja Storm. It's so confusing now.
I mean, you can't blame the Ninja Storm staff for that.
Yeah, but... Anyway, go ahead.
Yes. I like him because he was kind of delivering on the promise, delivering on the concept that we were given with Billy in Zeo.
Okay.
I'll explain that. So,
all right.
Cameron and Billy in Zeo shared the fact that they were the tech support for their team, who were forced to sit out when the team would go out to fight things.
Yes.
And even though they were creating and working on Zords, it still wasn't the same as morphing and going out to fight things.
Absolutely, which is what he was lamenting about in Samurai's Journey Part 1.
Mm-hmm. And if you think about it, out of all of the Ninja Storm Rangers, character-wise, when it comes to just being valorous, a good person, a responsible person, Cam is probably the most worthy person to be a Ranger on the Ninja Storm team.
Okay, I will go along with that, but he is not the most humble. And I think Linkara pointed out this on his Ninja Storm review, is that he can be grating at times. He has great one-liners, don't get me wrong about that, but he can be annoying because he does sound like Robin from Batman Robin, because it seems like every episode he's complaining about something.
Yeah, and you have a point there.
Yeah, I mean, Cam's not one of my favorites on the Ninja Storm team. And in fact, I don't really like Ninja Storm. I can't say I really have a favorite Ranger off that team. I like the Sensei as the guinea pig better. But
I'm partial towards Tori, but anyways.
Yeah, everybody's partial towards Tori. She was the only chick in there. But okay. So what you're saying is valid about Cam, and I agree with that. I just, there's something off about him that I can't put into words. Because he was great tech support. See him coming as Green Ranger a mile away and all that kind of stuff. But I guess it was the complaining stuff that was the thing. But I will say this about him. I would have to say that he is his best episode was, I think, one of my top 5 favorite Power Ranger episodes of all time. Samurai's Journey Part 2.
Okay.
Now, you remember Part 2, right? That's the one where he goes back in time and meets his mother and his father. Absolutely adore that episode. I love it to death. And he was the starring role in it. Because the thing about it is that he goes back in time. He knows what's going to go ahead and happen. He knows these people, but he's not like that tiptoe around it. He's like, you got to kill this guy. You got to kill who's going to be Kanoi, I believe his name, who became Lothar. And all that. He was very smart about the situation he was placed in. Right. That's one of the better things about the episode and his characters. He's smart about what he's placed in. If you get any other Ranger in there, like, Tori, look at what she did in Wild Wipeout. She was completely clueless about what was going on for the longest time. Right. Cam is quicker on the uptake. So he is the most quick-witted of the Rangers and the smartest, which does make him better than the others. Just much better than Dustin, of course, even though Dustin is fun from time to time. So,
and you gotta have the fun characters, but maybe it's just because I Because remember in Zeo when everyone thought that Billy was going to be the Gold Ranger?
Yeah, which was deliberately planted in there. But, you know...
It felt like Cam was delivery on that concept.
I can see that. It's just that he wasn't as beloved and he didn't have as much of a change because we wanted to see Billy, who was the nerd, who became the I mean, we almost wanted to see him...
who couldn't handle a karate lesson.
Exactly.
The guy that invents Zords.
Exactly. And, you know, it would have been great if Billy eventually became, a leading
It would have made
Ranger.
Pyramidas make a lot more sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways.
All right. Go to. Is it my turn?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. And I know this is also Ching's last. Kind of talked about him on my last video, but this is a different Ranger. This is Jason as the Gold Ranger. So I didn't want to give it away because I knew we were you were kind of leading there and stuff. But here's a thought that I had about Jason. First of all, believe it or not, when I first saw the episode where he became the Gold Ranger, I thought it was Tommy's brother, which I think everybody did, the way he was dressed.
Yeah, because...
I did not realize that was Jason until after the commercial break. Because they're like, who is this guy? And I'm looking, I was like, wait a second. Because we hadn't seen Jason in like 2 years at that point.
Yeah.
And being as young as I was at the time, it was just kind of like, it took me a minute for it to register. But nowadays, if you watch episodes back to back to back, it's a little bit easier. But the thing I like about Jason as the Gold Ranger ties into what I originally said about his quasi-rivalry with Tommy.
And I was actually thinking of putting him on my top list, and I just wasn't sure how he would fit, especially considering the moratorium we put on Tommy.
Absolutely.
And I remember what you said about him in your Top Red Ranger video. You said that and I agree with this, that you appreciated the relationship the two had. How they started out as a quasi-rivalry, and how they eventually swapped roles.
Exactly, and what I like, and I believe it was Where in the World is Zeo Ranger 5? Or King for a Day. It's one of those episodes, because it's a mini arc, where Tommy goes missing, of course, and then the Rangers have to find him, and Jason really does assume the leadership role again. So what I like is, like, his friend is gone, and he's been thrust into the leadership position again. Not that he never really, here's the thing about Jason, is he never really complained about Tommy becoming the leader. That was something more, but that was artificially created because of they were leaving. They didn't know that time they shot the episode and stuff. But what they did to tie into that is like he's the leader again, and he doesn't say I'm going to go ahead and take over. He just naturally does it. But he wants Tommy back, and he feels guilty about it. He's like, I let him down before. I'm not going to do it again. And I think that speaks so much to his character. And here he is back in the leadership role, which he actually, and again, back to the Turbo movie, I'm all over the place here. I'm sorry, I'm trying to get all my thoughts here, but the Turbo, he's like, I'm the ones with brains and the power, I'm in control again, something to that effect.
Yeah.
So there's a part of him that misses that resents Tommy, but not a big part, because he respects Tommy more than anything.
And it probably is difficult for you to have been the leader of that team and guide them through, 60 plus battles?
Yeah.
I was there in season 1.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was always difficult for him, but it never, caught on and stuff. And what I liked about what they did with Jason Zeo is that there wasn't too much to progress in him as far as character. He is the same, but they gave him more to do. I like his girlfriend. They give him the bad girl, and then he tries to turn her good, which I think he does. Emily, remember her?
No, but
she's a footnote, but it was very interesting, kind of what they did with him and her. And
although speaking of Jason, just before we move on, I wanted to point this out. He's classified as the Gold Ranger, correct?
Yes, and yes, I know King Ranger is black. But
yeah, and speaking of that black thing, what color shirt is he always wearing?
Black.
And I know you can't wear a gold-colored shirt.
Well, you can. I mean,
it could. But
I got a gold-colored shirt, but it just wouldn't look right.
Yeah, and it doesn't look as cool as, say, that black tank top that he usually wears.
Exactly.
But it's fine. He's not wearing, say, a yellow-colored shirt, although yellow would probably intrude on Tanya, but my point is, he wears black even though he claims gold.
Yeah, but Trey claimed the gold. He just took the powers, which again I think was brilliant what they did because with the whole thing with Billy and David Yost. Now that we know,
Yeah,
because I was disappointed it wasn't Billy, but then when I found it was Jason, I was like, oh, this is just as good,
Yeah, Trey was a dumb move story-wise.
I don't think it really was.
Well, I just mean the fact that it is such a stupid moment when the Gold Ranger's finally unmasked and it's someone we've never seen before.
And that was the thing, because when I was watching it as a kid, every week was like, who is the Gold Ranger? And they actually had commercials where they filmed new footage saying, can you figure out who the Gold Ranger is? Tommy daring you to figure it out and stuff.
And they put forth candidates in the show.
Skull, Tommy's brother.
People we knew.
Yeah.
And this guy, hi, my name's Trey.
But in hindsight, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It was an interesting concept. The Triforian is an alien concept that we've never seen before or since that I can
that almost sounds like something that would show up on Doctor Who. Just the idea of a creature with three entities within it,
Yeah, I think there's more they can do. I don't know exactly what compelled them to bring Jason or have this whole Gold Ranger thing. I wish I had that type of information. If anybody knows, you post in our comments, but I don't think...
I would guess that Billy was the original plan.
He was, yeah. But again,
And they probably figured, well, we can't get this veteran.
No, wait a second. They wanted Ryan Hawkins to come in from VR Troopers, because he was the voice of him.
Yes.
They wanted. I think they wanted Billy first, but he was still flip flopping. This is for the whole gay thing and all that. Then they wanted Ryan Hawkins coming in. For some reason, they couldn't get him.
Who, I don't know if you know this or not, was the original choice for Tommy Oliver.
Yeah, for Cybertron.
Yes.
The VR Trooper, which eventually became VR Trooper.
Oh wait. So I have that backwards.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go a little tangent right here. Yeah. Just go ahead and inform me. It was Tommy Oliver who was originally chosen to do a pilot called Cybertron, which became VR Troopers, in which they cast Dan Hawkins in that role.
Okay, because for some reason I thought that this actor from VR Troopers was the original casting choice for Tommy Oliver and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
Well, I don't know if that's the case. All I know is that Adam was the original, what's it? Okay, the guy that plays Eric was one of the original choices for Adam.
Wow.
To play Adam. Yeah.
Well, you got to be a Ranger eventually.
Exactly. A much better one, I think, in his own right. Because, Adam, he's so iconic now. Which boggles my mind. I like Adam. I just don't know how he got
I think it's his characterization in Once a Ranger that does that. And
anyways,
let's move on.
Sorry, everybody. It's so much fun to talk about just Power Rangers in general. We might
trivia.
Trivia. Absolutely. Okay. Your turn for your final best Sixth Ranger.
We already ran it. It was Eric.
Okay. Then I will give my last. And here's the thing about the Sixth Ranger. It was really hard to say top best and top worst. And this guy kind of got on my list mainly because I like his backstory more than his character. And that's Merrick, the Lunar Wolf Ranger.
Okay.
So those of you who've seen my villains episode, I love Zanaku. He is one of my favorite villains. And I love that whole story about a man who was so desperate to defeat evil that he became consumed by it.
He who fights monsters must be sure he does not become a monster himself.
Yes, but he does, and then he's locked away, he comes back, and he's saved by Rangers, and then we get this whole thing of should he be part of the team, should I not be part of the team, that whole thing.
Or should he be a bouncer at a bar?
Where they serve root beer to bikers. Which, actually, I believe they did that in Samurai as well. The Super Samurai bikers having root beer. I guess it's the concept of him that I find more interesting than the actual execution. Because, again, Lynn Carr got it right. That afterwards, it was... here's the thing. It's I love the whole, warrior from the past angle, the relationship with Shayla, but let me say this. He can't be with her. He can't be part of the Rangers because of all the horrible things he did. I can see how he may view that was him doing that, because it was his body was possessed in a sense.
And, just because, putting himself into the situation.
Yeah, I mean, because I can see he makes a bad choice, and he feels he has to suffer for that bad choice. That this is my punishment. I can no longer be around people, but the way it's done in the series doesn't work. I mean, if it was like Animus coming in and saying that as Kite or as the Megazord,
I hate Animus.
Yeah, but if he was coming in with that attitude and saying, "No, you're punished. You can't be with her," blah blah whatever, Oh, well, ladies and gentlemen, my lights just came down, but I'll worry about that later. It's not broken or anything. So sorry for that. I love my makeshift studio that I have here.
Yeah, you got to improve today.
Oh, yeah. So we're, okay. So yeah, if Merrick was given some sort of directive, some sort of reason to not be with Shayla, not to join the Rangers other than his own choosing, I think it would have worked better, because the self-imposed exile makes as much sense as Yoda's self-imposed exile in Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, it's nothing but dramatic convenience.
And I don't even know if it was a Sentai issue or not because of the footage. I mean, because from what I understand, Gal Ranger, I mean, he was just in it maybe a little bit more than Merrick was, but I don't know. Again, I put him on the list because, again, one, awesome backstory. Two,
for sure,
good costume.
Yes.
And I love his weapon, because I love the idea of like a sniper laser. It's just pretty cool. And then his Zords are awesome. What's really cool is you can actually buy an evil version and a good version and a Blue Moon version in Japan from Gala Ranger.
More toys.
Exactly, which that was the start of the whole collecting phase.
God, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, what do you think about Merrick? Just closing thoughts on him before we go to our worst here, because I know I put him on my list. I don't have much to say, but again, that's
I think he just acts. I think he's a bit overly dramatic. I almost considered him for my bottom ones, just because. If I ended up in a weird fantasy alternate universe where my body got possessed by an evil spirit and I did bad things, I think that he is just a bit whiny because he did bad things, but he was not in control of it. No one holds it against him.
And that's the thing he doesn't realize he's putting on himself. If somebody was telling him, if the Rangers were actually accusing him...
If the Rangers said, you did this bad stuff...
Exactly.
That would
make more
justification
sense.
For feeling bad about it. But Shayla opened him back. She had open arms for him.
Yes.
The Rangers, on Shayla's advice, never mistrusted him.
Exactly. And of course with our main Red Ranger, of course he trusts everybody.
But, he didn't catch shit from Taylor.
Exactly. Now that I think about it, you're right. It's a tricky character
the Rangers
to talk about.
They trusted Shayla's judgment.
Exactly. So I think before we go ahead and talk more nonsense here, I guess, let's go ahead and go to our worst. And, you know what? I know he's on both of our lists, and I think you all see us coming from a mile away, but I think we have different reasons for it. And that is Sam the Omega Ranger. Raptor, why don't you go ahead and start with, I guess, the obvious that we have here.
Alright, yes, so the main thing is, yes, Sam has no character to him after he becomes the... White Ranger?
The Omega Ranger.
Omega Ranger.
Okay, well, when he becomes an adult. Because we can both agree he had a good backstory as a child.
Yes, the backstory as a child was really cool. He was someone that was cast out of society because of his powers, which would have made a really cool turnaround when he returns to be a defender.
Exactly. Now, there was that whole...
Kind of like an X-Men thing.
Yeah, and well, that's the whole thing that I think SPD was missing, is because you have a time where people are integrated, but there's no prejudice. That's a very Gene Roddenberry kind of thing, but what you need is conflict. And there was conflict with him as a child, but that was only amongst other children. Remember, it was never an adult that was upset about his genetic powers.
I find it funny how they're making fun of a human child for having psychic powers, and one of the kids making fun of them is an alien that doesn't look like the rest of them.
Exactly, which doesn't make a lot of sense in that regard, because, genetic... It's like that whole thing with X-Men and the Fantastic Four. One is persecuted, the other is not, because one was born with it, one just died later in life or something. But,
the Thing doesn't get persecuted, but Kitty Pryde does.
Exactly. But the thing is, when he became an adult, and I will say this, I have no problem with the ball of light thing. But let me explain.
Go ahead.
Okay. As a concept, it's great. Okay? But the way they pulled it off, because he has no character.
Right.
If this was... The problem with SPD, I think, is that they have the 5 Rangers, but they have all these extra characters come in, which is great. But when you have less than 40 episodes to work with, it just doesn't work right. Especially when those episodes are only 25 minutes or 22 minutes long. As a secondary character, which he was never really part of the main Ranger team, even after he was introduced, he was still...
He could be.
Well, he could be if they knew what to do with him. If SPD was to last, say, 60 episodes...
Or let's just say 52, go
52 episodes, and maybe they introduced him a little bit earlier. Maybe Sam was tied in with the first episode, and maybe something like that. I'm not rewriting the series. I'm just coming up with an idea that they could have used the ball of light. They establish his character, bring him in, and then do something as the light. And one of the things that does annoy me about it is that they don't ask him about information from the future.
Yeah.
He should be the most valuable resource that SPD has.
I forget, did he talk much as the ball of light?
Yes, he did talk as the ball of light, but I think it was very rare, because he would mostly be in his Omega costume, and he didn't really interact much and do anything. So, again, back to my point, there's nothing wrong with the concept. It's a very science fiction kind of thing, it being made of pure energy, basically, but it's what they did with it is what I have a problem with.
What they did do.
Exactly. Because, they could easily... look what they did with Tommy. They made Tommy invisible, they made him stuck in the costume and all that, but they at least did stuff with him.
That was a continuing source of conflict, though.
Exactly. That was over multiple episodes. There's no conflict with him being a ball of light. It's just, I'm light. Okay, so...
when Tommy was invisible or stuck in Ranger form, it's like, this is a problem.
Exactly. Again, that's what I have the problem with. If they could have done the ball of light successfully, then I don't think people had this issue with it. If they would have actually, if they would have actually, given him a character, even a relationship with Z, now that would have been something.
Because she was the one that reached out to him.
Exactly, and then, he hits puberty, and, maybe she dies in the future, or they were lovers in the future, or something like that, and then he sees her again alive. Imagine the possibilities that brings up. And maybe he knows something's going to happen. He knows that she's going to die maybe in the next 6 weeks. And he has to wrestle with the idea, should I save her or should I let history play out?
Maybe he has some kind of prime directive with the past,
But still, knowing something
exactly.
and acting upon it. And sometimes, again, he's just, I'm from the future, I'm a ball of light. Let's fight evil.
I think a way that the character could have improved, without even messing with the future part of it that much, you could have made him not from the future at all. You could have made him a teenager when the Rangers met him, because high schoolers can be just as much of dicks as elementary kids will be.
Yeah.
So make him a teenager, and then have him join SPD. But, and have him, maybe have him even be a bit resentful of the fact that he was treated like that. And Z would have to work with him on, making him come around to be a hero. And that makes him fit a more traditional Sixth Ranger archetype.
Exactly. Now, they didn't go that way. That was very traditional, but with the alternative. Come on, going back that would have been good, but apparently we needed to focus more on, Sky complaining that he's not a Red Ranger.
Yeah, and it's just that he had no character arc compared to just about every other Sixth Ranger.
Exactly. And really, that's reserved. Because if you want to get technical, we were discussing whether or not we should put Anubis Kruger on the list. And for the record, I will not call him Doggy because that is a dumb name. But Anubis really...
I mean, technically he was number 6.
But he's also number 100. He's also number 7. It's a little confusing, but we decided, kind of keep off the list because now, I think it's more interesting, because he doesn't. I don't know.
The thing about Anubis was kind of the Anubis wasn't the Johnny Come Lately. That's one of the defining parts of a Sixth Ranger is that it's
new characters that have come in, they're unfamiliar with the situation and have to adapt to the situation. And again,
because Cam was an exception to that, in that he was around from the start.
Yeah, but again, Ryan, Tommy, Eric.
Well, even Jason. Jason was gone for most of the season in Zero, and then they bring him back to assume the Gold Ranger powers.
Yeah,
but Zane under ice.
Yeah, and then again with the whole thing is like the reason we didn't get a story arc is because they decided to give a story arc to Kruger, which I like his story arc. I didn't like the payoff that had at the end, but. At least it was something, which...
His wife was creepy.
And they want to repopulate? Jeez. Okay, so I've actually been informed by Raptor here, because we actually been hiding each other's lists so that we don't, know. We just can be surprised and just talk on the fly right here. But it turns out that while he was peeking at my list, we now have the same 3 worst Rangers. So I would say great minds think alike, but I don't always believe that. But in this case, I will. Okay. Well, the one I want to go ahead and talk about right now, that's number 2 on the list right here, would be Trent Fernandez, the White Dino Thunder Ranger. Now, why did you put him on the list?
All right, I put him on the list because remember the problem that I just voiced with Merrick?
Yeah.
In that Merrick was under the control of, an evil force, and he was whiny about the stuff he did, despite the fact that no one holds it against him.
Yeah.
My exact same problem with Trent. I disliked that it was unoriginal because, another person who's brainwashed by the bad guy.
Yeah.
Not, manipulated into working the bad guy, but just evil mind control.
Yes. Which is kind of flimsy to begin with, because what was it? He just touched the white dino gem and then he became evil? Is that what happened?
Yeah,
it's been a while since
and that's about the same as, when Tommy gets hit with the evil... Did he even touch the evil power? Whatever.
Yeah, well, he just was on a bed of ice, which... Anyway, the thing about Trent is that we go back to the high school characters, and the problem is that they are all stereotypes.
Yeah.
More so than the Mighty Morphin era. And the thing about Trent is, I've known guys in high school that were like that. The loners who were kind of emo, but not really, but the girls loved him because they were hot. And they're drawing, he's so artistic. He has a deep soul. He has heart and whatever and stuff.
Since Kira's the only girl on the team, she has to fall for him.
And she's also emo, too, herself, so...
Yeah.
But okay. So he has a very tragic backstory. His parents die. I mean, they died in a cave-in, which is horrific enough.
Yeah.
He was adopted by Mercer, who, I guess he was kind of a good father. At some point, it seems to be implied that when he became Mesogog was when he became distant from his son. But anybody who's willing to just take a kid like that is obviously a good person. He obviously had a privileged life, which doesn't fit with this whole emo thing, because it's like, I got a lot of money, my parents are dead.
I've seen that, privileged people who just find stuff to complain about anyway.
Yeah. But it's that stereotype that they set him as is what really bothers me about his character.
And then after he's been freed, he mopes about it some more.
Yes.
I did these bad things as the White Ranger. Well, everyone on the Ranger team is well aware that you were under evil mind control.
Yes, and you know what would have been great? And I think they may have said something about this within the series. But who else on that team was also under mind control and did things that they...
Tommy, yeah.
Wouldn't it be... I mean,
exact same setup.
It's a parallel, yes, that's kind of subtle, I guess, to a lot of newer viewers who don't know who Tommy is at that point, because we're talking, what was that, 500 episodes earlier at that point. But there's no interaction between Tommy and Trent the way it should be. We have two characters who are orphans. Remember, because Tommy's an orphan. Mm-hmm. We have two characters who are orphans that were manipulated by evil, and then they became good 6th Power Rangers, essentially, or in Trent's case.
Not even so much as a pat on the back from Tommy saying, I was in the same place, bud.
Exactly. Some sort of, I wouldn't say philosophical discussion, but some sort of meaningful conversation between the two about what happened. Even if it was, even if you were doing this as like a flashback kind of thing, where Tommy is like, Trent's like, man, I hate this. I can't believe I did this. I'm the worst person in the world. And Tommy's just like, I used to be just like you. I used to think the same thing. Blah, 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 whatever. Retcon, whatever.
Maybe say something along the lines of, but my team was there for me. Just like your team is here for you.
I kind of think, I've heard that. Has he actually said that in the show?
Maybe that was something.
Somebody has said that. I just don't know where it is. If anybody knows, please let us know, because I am drawing a blank at the moment. But I do know that you do like the Aberkiller costume more than anything.
And I like his Sentai counterpart. Maybe that's fueling my dislike.
That's the one thing I always find myself doing, which I should not be doing, is comparing it to the Sentai and finding one being superior.
Now I know that I'm going to be all over that next year with Super Mega Force and Gokaiger. But anyways.
Okay, well I think we're going to go ahead and move on to our last Ranger, relatively recent one, and that is Antonio Garcia, the Gold Ranger. That's golden, isn't it? Just golden.
Well, he's about as gold as the Gold Ranger was in Zeo.
Now, I'll tell you something interesting about the casting of this character. I forget who put it out there, but it was out there that for the casting of Samurai, they wanted somebody who could be Jim Carrey-like, was in the description of Antonio's character.
But wait, what the heck? In Samurai itself, in the episodes I've seen with Antonio, there's nothing Jim Carrey-esque about his character. I mean, he's a little goofy. But
well, I think that's the idea.
But I think Kevin's goofier than Antonio is.
Well, that's just because Kevin's a bad actor. Although I have to admit that of the actors, he did seem like one of the stronger ones, which really isn't saying much, to be honest. A lot of issues with acting in Samurai, but okay, the thing that grades me about him is the goofiness, and just the implausibility of his character. Because, okay, so we're going off the Shinkenger formula, which is where all the Samurai Rangers come from a line of warriors that they pass on from generation to generation. And again, there's another copy and paste from Shinkenger.
Which works fine when you have an all-Japanese cast.
Which we'll get into the logistics of that later. But Antonio supposedly, just because he wanted it so badly, made his own morpher, mastered samurai power, and symbol power, and then made his own Zords while fishing and teaching himself how to play guitar. Okay, it seems like he's a jack of all trades, but it seems like a Gary Stu to me. Like, he's good in everything he does. There's nothing he can't do. And so many of the plots...
And everybody likes him.
Exactly. And so many of the plots before Super Samurai was he needs to master the black box. He's the one that has to... Why is it Antonio that has to do it? Shouldn't it be the ones who've been trained for 10 generations be the ones that master this? Because I get that's the issue. Like, he's not training anything. He just teaches himself to do it. But he's just goofy. He's just... I don't know. You
think someone who works that hard on training themselves would not be as goofy? But I just find him to be a bland and uninteresting character. That's I have that issue with everyone in Samurai.
Yes,
he doesn't clash with the team at all. Because even in times where we've had a sixth ranger that wasn't hostile towards the team, they still had clashes with the team just by shaking up the team dynamic. For example, when Zane joined the Space Rangers after being defrosted.
He had the issue with his power running out.
His power ran out, but also that he made Andros feel jealous because of the time that he was spending with Ashley.
Exactly.
And so even if he's fighting on the team and no one has a problem with him, and it's not like he's fighting against the team, he's still causing issues. And if I recall correctly, didn't Rocky get jealous of Jason being back?
Oh yeah, the very episode after is when Rocky became jealous. You're right. There is no conflict with it. I mean, the only conflict at the beginning when he joins the team or attempts to join is like, you're not a samurai. Which I'm not sure if I am mixing Shinkanger up in here because it's the same thing.
I remember seeing the episode where he joined. I was remember them chasing him around the city or something.
From what I am recollecting at this very moment, he wanted to join, but they said he couldn't join, which I admit is refreshing. I like the concept of, I'm not going to be over here and I don't want to be part of you guys. I like that he actively wants to be part of the team, but the team is rejecting him.
And that makes sense why they would do that, especially that hard-ass Jaden.
Exactly, because again, you're talking about 5 highly trained people. It's like if you're on a SWAT team.
Emily aside.
Okay.
But anyways,
if you're on a SWAT team of 5 heavily trained people, and the security guard comes in and says, "Hey, I want to join you,"
it's like someone who has the training of a security guard, but just happens to have fully automatic weapons and a bulletproof vest like the SWAT.
Yeah, just because you have the technology, which is what Antonio had, does not mean you have the skill.
But then, he hops on the team, he shows that, hey, I'm just as good as you guys, just as useful as you guys.
And is able to make Zords that conveniently combine with...
Yeah, let's form up the Gigazord.
Yeah. Yeah, again, it made more sense in Shinkanger, which I know you haven't seen, but...
I was wondering about that.
It does... Okay, it's the same story, except instead of fishing, it's selling sushi.
Close enough.
Yeah, close enough. At least they're not jelly donuts. You get it. It's pretty much the same thing, the childhood relationship, teaching himself how to do these things. But with Genta, who is Shinken Gold, I bought it more, but that's only because I enjoyed the series more, that was willing to suspend my disbelief for that character, because he actually was very serious later on. And I enjoyed that.
Oh, one more beef I have about Antonio.
Okay.
His Mega Mode form. This has nothing to do with Shinkanger at all.
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan of his color scheme to begin with.
The blue and gold.
Blue and gold. It kind of clashes. Especially because it's a metallic gold.
Yeah.
But anyways, when he goes to Mega Mode, it's like they totally forgot that he had blue on his costume.
Yeah, very inconsistent. If you have a show that's based on Japanese mythology and Japanese lore, why not just keep the Japanese elements? They're obviously doing that for Megaforce and not even attempting to edit the cards. For the one series where you should not need to edit any of the Japanese out, they really spent the budget on getting rid of a lot of Japanese things.
And yet they have them drawing kanji, but just call them symbols.
Yeah, and they're not even right, because Pink Ranger is heaven, and how dare we mention heaven, even though we've mentioned the underworld thousands of times in the past 20 years. So.
Yeah, and then we clip the wings of the angels when the Ghost Rangers become the Megaforce Rangers.
Yeah, it's a number of things. Well, I think that, I don't know what the link we're writing at, but it sounds like we might be a little bit shorter since our worst all seen the match. But
and then one of our best match, too.
Yeah, but that's the fun of it. I guess it's either we're just controlled by the system to like certain Rangers, or it's just universal that these Rangers are popular and that these Rangers are hated.
Yeah, if you think about it, it's kind of just basic storytelling formula that is accepted by our Western culture.
And
We appreciate a character more, with conflict more than one who doesn't have conflict. Hence Eric versus Antonio.
Exactly. And nobody's ever going to say that Antonio is better than
That was,
Eric.
that was probably the most unfair comparison. I think the only way I could have made that comparison more unfair is if I would have compared him to Tommy.
Well, I'm not going to say you can't do that, but all right. So I think we're going to go ahead and call it a day here. Any parting thoughts that you want to go ahead and express about these 6 Rangers? Just anything related to 6 Rangers you want to say before we go?
I hate Robo Knight.
All right, fair enough. And yes, everybody, I've been preoccupied with Go Buster and how do we pronounce it?
Kyo-Ryuger.
Okay. I've been preoccupied with those 2 Sentai. I've been trying to catch up on those before.
Where's the Kyo-Ryuger box? Ki, you see? I'm looking at the...
Yeah.
Because there's the katakana for Ki, Yo, Ri, Yuger.
See, he took Japanese language. I just took Intro to Japanese Civic Culture. But we're both going to be taking Japanese cinema this fall, so that will be an interesting class. But I want to thank you guys for listening in today. I hope you enjoyed that. As always, if you have any comments that you want to do, please post them in the comments section or feel free to email me. My email address will be there. I will also be providing a link for Raptor's new Pokemon podcast, which I would hope to be a part of, but I'm so far behind the times, I don't know what I'm going to go ahead and do about that. And then just have yourself a good night, and the tavern is now closed.
Peace.